translator, and actor Mike Wade. Babenco, Tell Me When I Die is a documentary about the late filmmaker Hector Babenco, the first Latin American director to be nominated for the directing Oscar for 1985's Kiss of the Spider Woman. His films include Pichote, Ironweed, At Play in the Fields of the Lord, Carandiru, El Pasado, and My Hindu Friend. But Babenco, Tell Me When I Die is also a love letter to the artist and the role that cinema played in his life and his work. Directed by Babenco's partner, Bárbara Paz, produced by his daughter, Myra Babenco, and associate produced by Willem Dafoe, who starred in his 2015 film, My Hindu Friend, a year before his death. So, Bárbara, Myra, Willem, and Mike, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to start by asking, Bárbara, take us back to the beginning of this beautiful project. You had conversations with Hector about the vision that you ended up putting onto the screen, but what were those conversations like? How did this even originate?
Bom, é um filme super íntimo, né? Um filme muito pessoal. Eu queria fazer um filme sobre esse homem, não só o cineasta, não uma filmografia, mas esse...
Okay, this is a very intimate film, very personal. I wanted to make a film not just about this filmmaker, this cineast, but about the man, the person.
E então, para conquistar, esse homem que estava muito doente há muitos anos, como um leão lutava para fazer sempre mais um filme. Era esse homem que eu queria
falar. I want to make a film about this man who was very ill, like a lion fighting for survival. That is the film I wanted to make.
Só para fazer mais um filme, né, Mike? Lutava para sobreviver, só para fazer mais um filme.
Who was fighting to survive to make another film, one more film.
E no último ano, principalmente nos últimos 3 anos, ele pedia para ser filmado mais porque ele estava com uma urgência intuitiva. Então a gente gravava tudo.
And in the last 3 years, he wanted to be filmed more. He felt a greater urgency. Carry on, Bárbara.
E aí ele pedia para ser filmado, gravado. Ele estava querendo registrar esses momentos. Porque ele estava muito na morfina e ele estava com medo que as coisas fossem embora da memória.
Yeah, he wanted to be filmed. He wanted to get it filmed because he was on morphine and he was frightened that he might lose his memory, and he wanted to get it down. Him, not people talking about him, but Hector himself telling the story.
Eu acho que essa foi a razão principal e foi por isso que eu tenho tantas conversas gravadas.
And that is the main reason why I think I have so many conversations recorded.
E eu escolhi coisas pontuais, né? Eu tinha muito mais, mas eu escolhi as melhores coisas para compor essa história.
And I chose the best things, the best moments to put this story together.
I understand you had something like many hundreds of hours of footage, ultimately. Tell us about a little bit how much you had accumulated over those years of filming before you even got to start putting this film together.
Foram muitas horas, mais de 100 horas com conversas íntimas, e depois os trabalhos de arquivo, né? Depois que ele partiu.
I had more than 100 hours of more intimate conversations, but also all the archive footage.
Depois que ele partiu, muito mais horas, em torno de umas 300 horas de material.
After he died, I had another 300 or so hours of material in the archive.
Understand?
So where do you even begin at that point? And how do you jump in? What is your starting point even?
Sorry, can you repeat?
When you set out to start putting this film together, how did you begin? Like, what was your starting point? Was there a story or a moment or a scene or a part of Hector's life that made sense to start with, to put it together?
I can try to talk in English now. It's happening in a hospital room. I was afraid I didn't have much time to shooting this great man. You know, this is my first reason. I'm afraid. Eu estava com muito medo que não tivesse mais tempo de registrar, né? Esse homem. Então, ele estava ficando cada vez mais doente. E essa foi um filme de urgência. E a memória dele estava partindo. Então, eu acho que a gente começou juntos.
There was a lot of urgency. He wasn't very well, and I needed to get this done as soon as possible because, as I said, he was getting sicker.
Yeah, I wanted to everybody to fall in love with him, just like I did. I want to film not just only a filmmaker, but also the man, the thinker, the poet. And this poet was find all the time to survive so he could continue make films. And cinema kept him alive. Cinema was his oxygen. This is my reason why I start to shoot him. Because it's so beautiful. This man fight all the time and survive.
Willem and Myra, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the role that you saw film playing in Hector's life in your respective relationships with him.
Myra?
Okay. Well, I want to add to what you were asking, Bárbara. My role as the producer came up after Hector passed away. Bárbara and Hector were doing the film, just the two of them. Was very personal relationship between them and the film. So I was, of course, I knew they were doing the film, and they started when he was alive. He did see some of what Bárbara did, not too much, but he was aware. He got to see some scenes, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see that he was having these moments where he could talk about himself, and he was having this great intimate time sharing who he was with her, and I think Willem can talk a lot about that too, because he was involved.
I was involved. I was involved in his story, not so much in the making of the film. I'm really an associate producer by virtue of, being a supporter of Bárbara and Myra making this film. I think Bárbara is very courageous, and she's made a film that's very personal, but also very unsentimental. And I'm a part of his story in the respect that he was diagnosed with an illness, and it took him away from filmmaking for a very long time. And when he came back, he made some films. And his last feature was this film, My Hindu Friend, which was basically had a lot of biographical elements in it. And I basically played his figure. And then he was very practiced at meditating on his life and his death because he had been through this process of dealing with this illness, and he thought he was on the other side of it to some degree. To what degree was never really shared with me. I knew he wasn't well, but he had a very positive, he thought he was the luckiest man alive and could always, beat the odds. So then to see this intimate portrait, this conversation with himself that was a meditation on his coming death and also on his work is just very beautiful because he did, as Barbara indicated, he lived through cinema. And it's so interesting that he was a very big personality, but he wasn't particularly narcissistic. In fact, when you think about his films, he did films that he took other people's stories and made them his own. I mean, when you think he's not from the world of Quixote, he's not from the world of Carandiru, he's not from the world of that play in the fields of the Lord, but these are people that he had great compassion and interest in. So then for him to arrive at this very personal story, when he made the fiction film, it was an honor to be part of it. And now Barbara has made something much more articulate because he, as I say, he had gone through a process, and this was the end of the line, and he was very clear, and I can only say unsentimental. It's a portrait of someone reflecting on his life in a very present way.
There are many moments from Hector's own filmography interspersed, edited throughout this documentary, but done so in such a beautiful and lyrical way that it reflects his own life, as you say, Willem, for example. It reflects certain moments that he might have had himself, such as one in which we see Hector in a hospital room singing the song Cheek to Cheek, which is a scene we also see Willem play as a Hector-like character in My Hindu Friend. And I wonder if you, Barbara, might speak to the approach to using Hector's own films, not as, like an academic chronology of his work necessarily, but as a reflection of how he thought, how he spoke, how he expressed through cinema.
É para mim a pergunta? É.
Sim.
Sim, vida e obra não estavam separados. Era uma coisa só.
Life and work were not separated. It was one. It was all one and the same thing.
Eu queria fazer um filme como um conto, uma tell story, né? Com uma história só de cinema. Eu queria fazer um filme de cinema, uma história só junta, e não a filmografia dele.
I wanted to make a film all together, one entity, and not a cinematographic or a chronological film story.
Isso, mas eu queria fazer um filme porque a vida dele e a obra não estavam separadas. Então, as cenas do filme, quando eu coloquei, são momentos pontuais na vida do Hector. Cada cena que está ali não é para mostrar o filme, sim a vida dele em torno do filme.
Yeah, each scene is. I wanted to show. Você pode repetir isso só que é um pouco complicado.
Que a vida, eu coloquei as cenas dos filmes não cronologicamente e não como mostrar os filmes que ele fez, e sim que
I didn't want to put them
circulando.
I didn't want to put them together, chronologically, to show his life. It was an entire. What was the? Qual foi o final, Bárbara?
O que estava acontecendo na vida dele naquele momento? E aquela cena significava aquele momento da vida dele.
So I wanted to show what was happening to him at that moment, at each moment in his life.
Porque eu não queria fazer um filme tradicional, convencional.
I didn't want to make a traditional or a conventional film.
Eu queria fazer um filme de cinema e não só um documentário, um filme de cinema com ele.
I wanted to make a film about cinema with him and not a simple documentary.
Não é um simples documentário, não foi isso que eu falei, porque daí modifica.
Não, eu falei, foi um filme sobre, não foi um simples documentário. It wasn't a simple documentary you wanted to make.
Não foi. Não, tá. Ok.
Sim, foi isso que eu falei, Bárbara. That's what I said.
Quando o Hector me impactou, vamos lá. Ele me inspirou a vida toda, ele me inspirou tudo na vida. O Hector me ensinou muito.
He inspired me. He taught me a lot, all the time.
Yeah, as a fusion of life and work. I try to explanation in English, okay? I wasn't make a film about his final days, for example. At first, it was a film about memories because the morphine was affecting his memory, and I was afraid he was going to forget things. So I chose to make a film as a subconscious, que passasse pelo inconsciente dele. É um filme que vai do inconsciente dele, que passa pelas sensações, um filme sensorial.
A film that went through the subconscious, a sensorial film.
Que passa pela pela música, pelas sensações que a vida te traz.
But through the music and the sensations that life brings us.
Sorry.
I wonder if you can speak also about your own relationships with film. Did being part of this documentary, Willem and Myra and Bárbara directing it, stepping behind the camera in your first film as director, how did this experience of making this film impact your own relationships with film, with cinematic expression?
You're asking
Myra?
about Willem? Yeah. Well, I think this film is very unique. It's about my father, and when he passed away, well, he was diagnosed with cancer when I was 13 years old, and he survived 10 years of medicine, and then he had a bone marrow transplant. So my whole life, he was in treatment of some kind with a fragile health. So this film, for me, it's very personal. And when finally it really happens that he dies, and I can hear his voice all the time when Bárbara was doing the film and edit and working on the film after he passed away. I don't think I can compare it to any other film I watched because it's so personal. And what Bárbara said is she portrays him to the world in a way that people that knew his films, that knew Hector as a filmmaker, most of the people didn't know the human being behind the camera, behind the scenes of his films. So it's such a gratitude and an honor to have people know who he was, not only as a filmmaker, but as a human being, a very sensitive human being, very humorous and very tough sometimes. And it's just who he was. And I don't think I can compare to films I've watched before because it's too personal for me. I'm sorry.
And Willem, having played Diego, not Hector, but a version, in some ways, and then also helping facilitate this film and supporting Barbara's vision for this film. How did those experiences, your experiences with Hector, what did they reflect to you upon the role that film plays in your own life as an artist, for example?
Well, I felt close to his sense. I also, the way I remember my life is through theater performances and film. That's the way it is. My memory is very much tied to those things. And for example, many years I worked in a theater company that I worked at every day. And I was a partner with the director of the company. So I know what it's like to have your personal life married to your professional life. Just making my Hindu friend made me close to Hector. He was in a very introspective mood. And I met him many years before, and he was always a lot of fun to be around because there was a thing about his personality where he wanted to stay alive. He loved life so much. He was kind of a sensualist in the respect that he always liked to push things. He didn't want things to ever get routine. I think he had a healthy dose of iconoclastic spirit in him. He always went towards things that he was curious. He lived life with a lot of curiosity. And I think that played out. His way to exercise those impulses was very much expressed in his films. When I see this documentary, it's a beautiful, you don't even have to know his movies to appreciate his cinema because not only in old footage, but the way he talks about his relationship to his work is very beautiful, and I feel close to that. And then, as I said, when he's actually talking about the prospect of not being there anymore, which we can all relate to because we'll be there someday, if we're lucky enough to have that time for reflection, it's very articulate and very intimate and very open. There's nothing false or worked in this documentary, which really shows Barbara's pure heart. Not only did she want to express her love for him and an appreciation for his work and his relationship to his work, but it's just one human being seeing another human being looking back on his life and facing the fact that he's not going to be here all the time.
And Barbara, making this your directorial debut, we see the opening moments of the film, we see you picking up a camera and we see Hector, instructing you on, the depth of field and focus. And there's something very beautiful and metaphorical even in the exchange that you and Hector have in terms of talking about framing. Framing is what one chooses to turn their lens on, turn their gaze on. And of course, the rest of the film that follows is a testament to that very thought. So I wonder if you can describe your own journey from being in front of the camera as a performer to now being behind it. What did you discover about yourself in directing this film?
Eu vou falar em português, então. É a história de maestro e uma aprendiz.
It's a story of a maestro and an apprentice.
É porque o tempo todo a gente falava sobre cinema, a gente respirava cinema, a gente tinha uma conexão de vida muito de intelectual, de literatura, cinema. Então
All the time, I must stop you because all the time we spoke about cinema, we breathed cinema, and we had a very intellectual relationship.
A gente construía roteiros o tempo inteiro juntos.
We made screenplays. We thought up screenplays all the time together.
Yeah. Eu acho que foi nesse lugar que duas pessoas de gerações diferentes.
I think it was in this place that two people of different generations.
Yeah. Diferentes. Diferentes. Enfim, eu acho que eu segurei a mão dele e ele segurou a minha.
We held each other's hand. I held his and he held mine.
Porque somos dois sobreviventes na vida.
Because we're both survivors in life.
Querendo substituir dor por poesia.
Wanting to substitute pain for poetry.
Eu acho que nossa relação era nessa frequência.
I think that our relationship was on this kind of wavelength.
E ele mudou tudo na minha vida.
He changed everything in my life.
Minha percepção de ver o mundo.
My perception of the world, how to see the world.
E saber que eu sou possível.
And to know that I was possible.
Porque ele acreditava muito em mim, no meu olhar como diretora, não só como atriz. Ele dizia que eu devia seguir.
He believed very much in my future, in my path as a director, not just as an actress, and he thought I should follow that too.
Ele me deu a maior herança que eu poderia receber de alguém, a confiança.
He gave me the best legacy, the best inheritance I could ever wish for from someone, which is confidence.
A confiança de acreditar que eu posso mais. Ele me entregou o passaporte dele e falou: segue por aqui.
The confidence that I could achieve more. He, as it were, he gave me his passport and said, "Okay, now go forward, or now fly, if you like."
And now, are you flying farther? More directing?
Same. So, eu acho que ser a diretora é construir tudo, é gostar da música, eu gosto da música, da fotografia, esses elementos todos que juntam uma orquestra. É o orquestrar, né?
I think being the director is to put together all these elements, the sound, the music, the image, put it all together as if you're directing or conducting an orchestra.
And I love human beings. I love listening to stories. I love, and I'm, that's it. Sorry.
Willem, it sounds like you agree with that.
No, I just like saying Barbara. I've worked with her as an actress. She's a self-starter. She's fierce. She's smart. She's brave. So I just like, I like listening to her right now. There's a moment in the film where she does a dance and you see Hector. It's basically the end of the film. And the look on his face of satisfaction, of his worlds coming together and kind of peace, is transcendent. And she was dancing. He was watching her. I was watching as well in the scene, but I had really nothing to do with it. But just to be a part of that made me feel very happy and very useful. And with them, to witness that, I shared that. And I think this documentary is transparent enough and not pushy at all. It invites people to share that as well. And I think it will be felt if you see it, because it's clear as a bell. You don't talk about love, you see love. You don't talk about art, you see art. You don't talk about someone living their life, you see it. And that's a beautiful thing. So I think Barbara's made a beautiful, beautiful film, kind of a little miracle. Not only because it's her first thing, but because she's so close to the subject. But she also was very fierce about being a witness and keeping a certain kind of distance, not making it about her, and not keeping a balance between a kind of intellect and emotion, not having it just be one hot, sentimental recollection. It's really a beautiful film.
Thank you, William. Hector iria me matar se eu fizesse filme melodramático.
Hector would have killed me if I'd made a melodramatic film.
It's true.
I have to add, Willem, that the dancing scene that you just described in the film My Hindu Friend is Barbara not just dancing, but doing the entire Gene Kelly routine from Singing in the Rain perfectly. And it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful moment of cinema, because it's a cinematic expression of cinema. And to add another layer to that, exactly as you're saying, in this documentary, in the Babenco documentary, we then get to see behind the scenes of that scene, just to describe it to folks watching. And we see this gift that, Barbara, you have also given Hector, which is including his final scene directing you in your film. And the ways in which this film is everything that Willem just described, but also just a beautiful gift to this man, are really, really quite special, including the farewell that you put to screen, his own vision, how he might say farewell. And as we say farewell, I ask you all to add your final thoughts on that note that you end your documentary on, that feeling that you send Hector Babenco off into cinema on, and why it was important to sort of close on that sentiment and close on that moment.
Ela quer que eu fale?
Each one of us.
Each one.
Yeah. Myra, please tell us what you think of that final note in the film.
I think, when I started as supporting Barbara to continue and to finish the film after he passed away, I was listening to Willem right now, and it made me feel like she knew exactly what she was going. She didn't know exactly what she had to do, but she knew she was going to put it together at her own time. And my feeling from my heart was that I had to just be there for her, and actually that's my role as a producer, was to stand by her, giving her support, meaning that she would do what she only knew what to do, and that she was brave and she was great and she was capable, and just have her confident that she knew she needed to grieve and to have her own time, and she did it. So it's incredible. It's incredible. It's like everything is happening in the right way, and everything. The film came out so powerful, so simple, so heartful, and that's what so beautiful about the film. And the scene about the dance in Mind a Friend, the way that she was able to capture the Hector's reaction on that moment, on the last scene he directed her, everything, it's like an orchestra. It's so powerful, it's so beautiful. I'm sure he's very proud and of what she finished, what she accomplished. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Willem.
Thank you so much. I just say, My Hindu Friend, the last film, actor. This scene is the last film of cinema. É a última cena dele de cinema, a dança, né? É a despedida dele da vida e do cinema.
The dance scene is his farewell to cinema and to life. It was the last scene he ever filmed.
My Hindu Friend é um filme todo feito além de ser a história da vida dele, mas ele quis, porque eu estava junto na construção desse filme, ele queria que fosse todo o filme uma homenagem ao cinema.
Yeah, My Hindu Friend, his last film, which I participated. I worked with him a lot throughout the film, and he wanted it to be a film about cinema. É isso, Bárbara? Sobre cinema.
Uma homenagem ao cinema, várias cenas, uma homenagem ao cinema, né?
Yeah, a homage to cinema, excuse me.
Ok, mas no meu filme, como ele tentou muito no My Hindu Friend, era isso que ele queria. Talvez ele não conseguiu tanto quanto ele gostaria. Eu quis que no meu filme eu fizesse um filme de cinema para ele.
Yeah, so in case he didn't fully achieve this, I wanted my film to be a film about cinema for him.
Entendeu? Não?
Perfect. Perfect.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
It's true. It's true.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We are just about out of time, but it was so wonderful to speak about this film and about Hector Babenco, which each of you brings such a special relationship into. So it's really tremendous to have this conversation, and I congratulate you all. And thank you. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, Willem. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you,
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Sorry, my
Nice to see you again.
Yes.
And to everyone out there watching, thank you all for joining tonight's rendition of the Envelope Live screening series. We hope to see you soon. Look out for Babenco, Tell Me When I Die, and be well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nice seeing you all. Nice meeting you, Jen.
Nice to-
Okay.
You too.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't laugh at me.
Bye.
Willem.